Here's a little video on how to put a top loader 4-speed into a later Ford pickup. Now I put the original transmission out of this 85 Ford Bronco, which was a 4-speed manual overdrive transmission, into this 91 F150, which had this AOD. So you can see here's the AOD and a later model transfer case, shift linkage setup. That's mounted, automatic shift linkages. So what we have here is the same later model transfer case. This is out of a 91. And then the older transmission, manual 4-speed. You see it's all together there. That's the 85 shift lever assembly that bolts to the side of the transmission with the 91 actual shift lever. And the only thing I had to do, it still bolted to that and lined up with the hole in the floor. I just had to shorten that linkage rod. You can probably see the welds right there. And that's because this transmission is shorter than the AOD. So the 302 and this, the 50, is the same. Everything bolted up there. Just put a clutch in it. When it comes to drive shafts, the front drive shaft from an 85 fits in this. Perfect. Works out great. The stock one almost fits. It's about an inch too long. You can squeeze it and it's really close to fitting, but you don't have the slip here anymore if you do that. So I just went ahead and put the one in out of the 85. As for the back drive shaft, did not have to have it cut and balanced, but this is pieced together. Get over here. Okay. See, we got quite a bit of engagement and we still got some slip there. There's the original front yoke to this and the original back flange, but the center piece, the actual tube, is the back half of a 86 F150 long bed 2-piece drive shaft. U-joints were the same, just popped in the front yoke, popped on the back, and it is about an inch, I'd say inch to 2 inch longer than the stock drive shaft, which is what you need to compensate for the shorter 4-speed. Now for the cross member, it had to be moved that much. You can see the stock hole, and that's where it's located now. This is the factory cross member out of this truck. That's the factory transmission mount, and it bolts up to the older transmission. So the only modification I had to do, cutting, drilling wise, was these two holes right here, and then the hole in the floor for the shift lever. But if I had had the right cover plate that bolts to the floor pan, then I wouldn't have needed to do that. Inside, I just quickly bolted in the stock Ford manual pedals, 4-wheel drive lever lined up with the factory hole. Into this boot here, just cut out a square, which if you had the stock cover, then you wouldn't need to mess with that. But I just knocked the roll pin out for the automatic shifter. I already had a manual cluster, so it's in there, which the only difference is the park, reverse, neutral drive located down there. And the last thing, the hydraulic clutch setup. This truck was originally a 2-wheel drive 6-cylinder 5-speed truck, so it already had the hole in the firewall, but that is a 91 slave cylinder with an 85 line and external slave down there on the transmission. You can put the older line into the newer slave and it'll work, but you cannot do the other way around. You can't put the newer line into the older slave, which we found out when we did the 5-speed swap on the 85 over there. So we had to put the newer slave in there as well. But I was able to do this right out here in the driveway because I got other projects going on. I did this whole swap in one day outside in the gravel from automatic to manual. It's a pretty easy swap. I recommend it if your transmission goes out because manual 4-speeds are a lot cheaper than an AOD, especially rebuilding them. It's over $1,000. We had it laying around and threw it in. It actually drives out pretty good.